pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Goes, 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 goes.
Now, from sunny South Florida, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla. Every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight on the L&M Network. And now, your host, Riscalla.
Well, hello and welcome, everyone. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. An honor and a privilege to be here with you tonight. Sometimes I wonder if I'm really living in reality. I can't help but feel that I'm like in a TV show, right? There was this TV show that I used to watch growing up all the time. It's called The Twilight Zone. And it was all about bizarre stories. Just things that were so unbelievable that they couldn't be true. And I think that I'm living that today. With what is going on around us, with what I am witnessing in our what we call government today, I am telling you that the insane ones, unfortunately, are the ones who are leading the pack. That's not anything against our president, but there are a bunch of them up there that certainly don't belong up there. And it's truly concerning when we have people who openly admit they're not here to assimilate, they're here to dominate, and then they become part of our, quote, government. That's very disturbing to me. Many of my fellow military people who serve for this country do so in a manner believing that what they're doing is the protection of our country. We take an oath. The oath is to protect the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Well, I submit to you that we have domestic enemies now. And the situation is dire because these people have openly stated their disdain for our president, their disdain for the American way. They refuse to assimilate. They have openly admitted that. And they have openly stated that they are here to dominate. You ever think about how many people that are in our government that feel that way? I can tell you of 4 right off the bat. That's 4 too many right there. So what are we going to do about it? We as a people have been conditioned. There's nothing you can do, Riscalla. Your vote is a waste, blah, 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 blah. Nothing could be further from the truth. The very evidence of that is the fact that Donald Trump as president. He fought a system that was completely worked against him. And yet, because of the will of the people showing up, enough of us showing up at the polls, we overran their corruption. So many of us that they didn't know what to do. They couldn't believe the outcome. They were depending upon Americans being lackadaisical as they have been in the past and believing that their vote did not matter, therefore staying home and not voting at all. And then, of course, all of the almost 1 million that they have found that were fraudulent votes by Judicial Watch. Almost 1 million, a little over 900,000 votes. That throws her out of the popular vote, which people claim that she had won. It gives our president the electoral votes and the popular vote. But yet we have people who seem to have nothing better to do than to create walls and problems, investigations, anything they can do to stop this man from being successful. It's pretty disgusting from my point of view to watch these people do this day in and day out, and the American people seemingly are okay with it. I say seemingly because I don't see anybody screaming up a storm. I don't hear anybody yelling for recall. Let's pull these people out of office. They don't belong there. One in particular, the very first night on her inaugural speech, has nothing better to say than that we're going to impeach the MFer, referring to our president, who, by the way, hasn't done anything to be impeached for, but hey, whatever we can do to stop any progress that he could make, because he's making the rest of these politicians that have been there for decades look like has-beens. He has done far more than any of them have done in the short time that he has been in office. That's not to say I agree with everything, but it is to say that he has done an outstanding job. And my personal opinion is he will be, when all is done and said, he will go down as one of the greatest leaders of the world before all this is over. There are many people who say he's ignorant, he's doesn't know what he's doing, he's an idiot. They got all kinds of names that they call him. But I can certainly guarantee you this. Somebody who earned the kind of money he earned, someone who ran as many corporations, and I believe the number is 500, I may be mistaken, and still be able to succeed in his business is far from stupid. I doubt seriously he's ignorant. I would say he's more along the lines of an extremely intelligent individual. And if you watch what happens in the political arena as they try to everything they can to destroy this man, it's shameful. It really is shameful. They have tried everything they can to destroy this man. And I refer to him as a political trampoline. They throw all the poop at him, it just bounces off and slaps him right back in the face. It's the funniest thing in the world to watch it happen. Now, sometimes it takes longer than others, like the Mueller report. But the bottom line is, it came back to slap him in the face. Again, they were so sure. They were so positive. They were making statements like, this is treason. this president has committed treason. When in fact, I believe many of them are the ones who have committed treason. And now the shoe has come on the other foot. And it's the president who is using words like treason.
I said, let's get back on. Let's not think about the past. Let's think about the future. But now I think thinking about the past is just okay, because we can never let this happen again in our country or to another president. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking into the future. We can never allow these treasonous acts to happen to another president. This was an attempted takeover of our government, of our country, an illegal takeover. And if it were the other way around, where I was doing it to President Obama or a Democrat, it would be virtually the maximum sentence that you can find no matter where you look in whatever legal book.
Now the shoe is on the other foot. And we're going to start investigating the investigators. Devin Nunes has requested 8 criminal referrals. He won't release the names, but I'm sure we're going to find out very shortly. I looked up criminal referral because I wasn't really clear about what that meant. And what I found was it is a directive that is focused at an individual whom someone believes has carried out some type of criminal activity of some sort and deserves an investigation. 8 of them so far. While we're on the number 8, there's over 80,000 sealed indictments that are still waiting to be opened. 80,000. I believe by the time this president serves his second term, I have no doubt in my mind he will go for another term. There are many who have turned away from the Democratic Party. He will go for a second term, and by the time his second term is over, our country will have been shaken to its very roots. You heard him say that it was an illegal act. It was an attempt to overthrow our government. These are not light words. When a president of the United States uses the word treasonous acts, people should be sitting up and listening, especially when a president like Donald Trump speaks up. This isn't like the last president who kept drawing different lines in the sand, bowing down and apologizing. This man will kick behind and take names. And people know that. So now we have a report that has come back. The Democrats were so absolutely certain was going to demolish this man that it doesn't even have a splinter to affect him. And they don't know what to do. So it's back to plan A that didn't work the first time. Let's see his tax records. Why isn't the American public demanding that we see their tax records? Upon entering the presidency of the United States of America, Donald Trump was worth approximately $4.3 billion. Currently, he is down at least $1 billion. And hardly anybody mentions that he works for free. No other president has done anything like that. No one. But yet he is tormented every day by the media. Tormented by those who are supposed to be working with him instead of against him. And look at how much he has achieved, even with all of the resistance that has been put in front of him. Do you know who ends up losing in all of this? Think about this for a minute. Who ends up losing in all of this? You and me. Because if these people would get up off of their behinds and decide to do some work, which is what we pay them to do, instead of complaining about this president and complaining about his different policies of attempting to protect us, the American people, gee, maybe our lives would be a little better. Maybe we wouldn't have so many reports about people who aren't supposed to be here, killing people, raping people, committing all kinds of crimes. But we have to argue with our government to do their job? There's nobody to blame but you and me. You know, I liken it to, we are sort of kind of in a weird, twisted kind of way. We are sort of like the parents. We have been way too easy on our kids who are supposed to be behaving themselves and acting responsibly and doing things that would benefit us. And instead, while our backs are turned, while we're busy trying to earn a living and keep our families together, they've done everything that they can to separate us. They've thrown everything that they could possibly think of, so far that I can see, to keep us fighting with each other. They have brought people into this country who have openly admitted that they're not here to assimilate, brought them in literally by the hundreds of thousands. They refused to close the southern border, which is extremely porous, and there is documented evidence that an extreme amount of illegal activity goes on. No, we want to keep it open. But the moment that there's a chance that the very people that they say we need to welcome, the moment that there's a chance that those people would be ending up in their cities, that's a different story. That's inhumane. That's unjust. How dare you? When are people going to say, look, we're tired of your crap? I mean, there's a couple of other words I could use to describe it, but I think you understand. We're tired of this. Get up off of your behind and go to work. Stop resisting everything that this president has and do your job. If it's something that's going to affect our country and this president is trying to resolve it, why fight him? I don't understand that mentality. Doesn't make sense. But it will make sense if you understand why many of them are so hating towards him. It is the fear that they have that he will bring them to justice. They are criminals. And this is the new sheriff. This is the mean parent, if you will. Because prior to that, they could do just about anything they wanted to do, and nobody would say anything. kind of like the parent that lets his kids drive his car even though they don't have a license. Doesn't matter, I have enough money, I know enough people, I get them out. Unfortunately, that went on for quite some time within our government. And now we're suffering the after effects of that, trying to come out of it. As a result of that, you're seeing what's happening today. A division in this country unlike anything I've seen before. And a genuine, earnest attempt by a president to heal these wounds. But when you have a media constantly attacking him and provoking him and pointing out every negative aspect that they could possibly find about him, and you have an audience that believes everything that they hear coming out of that little monster in their home, you have a recipe for disaster. You have a recipe for a country that is going nowhere but down. There must come a time when the people of this country decide, look, we've had enough. This is it. Enough of this nonsense. Start pulling these people out of office. There's a way to do it. And we as Americans, believe it or not, have a responsibility to each other as well as the country to see to it that these people do not serve in our government. They have no place in our government. But as long as we sit idly by and allow this to continue, we have no one to blame but you and me. It's one of the burning fires that is within me to bring people to the point where, look, we can do something about this. The very first step is to influence others around us and tell them what's going on. This is not acceptable to have somebody in our Congress who has openly admitted they are not here to assimilate, and these people have access to top secret information about our government? Are you crazy? I don't know, you tell me. Who's the crazy one? Are we so liberal that we would allow our very enemies who have openly stated that they are into a position of power over us? Isn't that what they call suicide? All right, time for a break, and I'll be right back. When I come back, I'm going to have my co-host on, Angel Strong, and we'll take calls in a little bit. You can call in, and I'll join in the chat room here in just a moment. First, I'm going to take a break, and then who knows?
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
Grace has some pretty stellar arms, like Serena Williams good, but her face is pretty disgusting.
Someone please tell him to go back into his closet and leave us alone.
Britney's face is so stupid and I hate her so much. It's like a scientist created her in a lab to annoy humanity and didn't even do that good of a job.
Megan reminds me of a troll doll that came to life intent on killing us with her stupidity.
Why is Grace's head so big? It definitely has nothing to do with how smart she is and probably everything to do with how bloated she is.
He's so funny. Just kidding. Who would find this disfigured flamingo funny?
Never post a selfie of yourself. You look so ugly.
The only reason you have so many views is because we think you're a freak and we can't look away.
Megan is the main reason that the world sucks so much.
I would rather get cancer than listen to another Trevor Moran song.
You are a mistake. You should have never been born.
Drown yourself in a shallow puddle, please.
Wow, I hope she's sterile.
These really stopped being funny a long time ago.
You're so much more than the things that people say about you.
Those people have no right to say cruel things to you to make themselves feel better.
It's okay that you sound different than everyone else.
That's what makes you so special.
We will not tolerate it. We will not tolerate it.
We will not tolerate it.
We will not tolerate it.
Every day, people make me feel like I stand out simply because of the way that I look.
Every day, people make me feel small.
Every day, I face the cruel words of bullying.
And every day, people tell me that I'm brave for enduring this humiliation.
But we're not the brave ones.
It's the ones that say no to the bullying.
The witnesses.
And if we all join together, there's nothing that we can't do.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
When we see bullying online,
We will let the world know that we're going to take action with the I.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
Our actions will overpower cruel words.
I am a witness.
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 There is power in words.
But it's nothing compared to the power of the actions that we put behind our words.
Visit eyewitnessbullying.org to learn more.
I am a witness, and so are you.
I'm gonna stand by you.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
We have ignition. Strap in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla, every Saturday night on the LNM Network from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now your host, Riscalla.
All right, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. I'm your host, Riscalla, and I have a special co-host with me who has, what a blessing this young lady is, has really opened my eyes in certain areas. One of them is words. And last night, her and I, of course, I'm speaking of the one and only Angel Strong. Last night, her and I had the privilege of being on the Paraversal Universe with Kevin and Jennifer Malick. And she brought up something, which I'm going to ask her here in just a moment. She brought up something that I heard all the time, but never really broke it down. And she's kind of a, what would I call her? A word, I can't think of the word. It'll come to me in a moment here. Anyway, welcome, Miss Angel. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you so much. I'm a wordsmith.
A word who?
A wordsmith. You know how somebody create something. I see a little bit deeper into the word.
Oh, no kidding. Yep.
And I'm a word nerd, too. So I love to analyze because I think, believing in the biblical text, that the word of everything was brought through speaking. Everything was brought into existence by speaking. So there's a lot more to it than just the audible sound of things. But anyway, I had a blast last night as well, and I'm happy that we were on with Kevin and Jennifer. It was a lot of fun.
It was very informative. So you mentioned last night something that is used quite frequently, and that's the word global. And you broke it down into something I never really considered, global. And that began to kind of ring true with me, why they keep using this word global. Everything has to be global. It's a global economy. They want a global society. So everything is one global thing, global. And when you look, I don't understand the glow part other than maybe it's just praise, but the ball part I understand.
Yes, and actually the word Baal or Baal, a lot of people will say Baal because just the inference of pronunciation, so people know we're talking about the false deity.
Mm-hmm.
But that also means, in Hebrew, that means praise.
Oh.
So the global or global is a dueling praise, and it has to do with sex trafficking as number one, because it was about fertility, and the second part is sacrifice of child. So we're watching that live today in our country. Those two things are forefront on the left's agenda. That's why they're so against Trump. We've been over this so much. I mean, people's ears are going to be bent back like hound dogs. But the fact is, we keep questioning, why do they hate Trump so much? When 4 minutes before he decided to run for president, they were throwing rose petals at his feet.
Well, I think part of it is that, and the other part is he's going to bring them to justice, and they see that. It's the fear of them. They've never had to worry about this before. This has always been, no matter what, nothing's going to happen to it. Certain people, and it's very evident. You see Hillary still walking around free temporarily. I believe her time is coming. But you see, my point being is that they all believed that nobody's going to be held responsible for any of this. All of the people who would hold us responsible are all criminals too. So it's like a giant mafia. Nobody's going to be able to touch us because, many years ago, there's a thing called the untouchables. That's what these people felt like. They were untouchable.
That's right, and we brought this up before because Kevin had mentioned it being also like a mafia, and I said, you know what? There's only one person on this planet that's called the Donald. And if you break that down, that's the Don, because they're about ready to meet the Godfather.
Yeah.
He is going to close up all of this insanity. Why? Somebody like Brennan, Comey, McCabe, Schiff, Clapper. Listen, I spent a lot of time on the Beltway in D.C., a lot of time, Fairfax, McLean, you name it, Springfield. I'm telling you, this is the first time in history that they have been under a microscope. And when you put heat on a microscope, or a magnifying glass, you're going to get burned. And they're under it now with Trump. He's had it.
Yep. And I think I mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago, maybe, I don't know, time is such a blur, maybe it's 3 weeks ago or so, that I felt that the gloves were coming off. Remember me mentioning you? I think
Of course.
Gloves are coming off.
Of course, and I said he was too nice.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's going to be too nice anymore. I think that the tables have turned, and he's going to start seeing to it that people are held responsible. And again, I don't know whether you heard the small clip I played about him saying this is treason. This is an illegal attempt to take over our government. You don't hear him talking like that up until just recently. I don't think he's ever used the word treason up until just recently. If I'm not, I may be mistaken, but I don't think so. Not that I can recall anyway. And
he knows now that this was a total. He always knew it wasn't true, but he didn't know how far they were digging, not to uncover the truth, but to dig up dirt to cover the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when Obama said he was shovel ready. Well, we know why. And I mean, I am so serious. Riscalla, you asked a question. You said, are they crazy? Are we crazy? No.
We're the ones, I
We're
think.
saying they are crazy. You never hear the left say anything about the American citizens, what we're going to do for the American citizens. It's always about immigrants.
And I say we're the ones who are crazy because we're allowing this insanity.
Well, we stopped allowing when we elected Trump, but we are, we're in a country of laws, so we're following the laws. I mean, they're pushing us to the point because the right are lawful and the left are lawless.
True.
It's pretty simple. We're looking at people that absolutely don't have any regard for keeping any kind of laws. They're destroying everything. Even our history is disappearing right before our eyes.
Absolutely.
And then this country elected Obama not once, but twice, knowing full well that he said that we didn't build that about anything. You didn't build that.
Yeah.
Got reelected. He sat under Reverend Wright, who was always wrong, and damned America.
Yep.
Reelected.
Yep.
Still got reelected.
Yep.
He ran around bowing and kowtowing to everybody that hates us, sent a bunch of money and bullion to Iran to desecrate Israel, and nobody cared. So, big deal.
But when you say he was reelected, I can't help but wonder how much of that was, what's the word I'm looking for? Rigged, for him to be reelected. Like, it was supposed to be Hillary's turn after he was done. That was supposed to be like a shoe-in kind of thing. It's a hole-in-one deal. And we know what happened there. But so when you say reelected, I just wonder how much of that is kind of like on that line. Yeah, okay, people did vote for him. There's no question about it. But how much of it really was
legit?
Yeah.
Legit.
Yeah.
It wasn't legit. But then if we go through that boomerang, they're going to say, well, then Trump's election wasn't legit. The difference is the right did not continuously try to impeach him. This is going on. We're on our second year of listening to this crapola about Russia.
Yeah.
I mean, I call it the Fake-a-gate, because it's all fraudulent. The fraud squad on the left never shuts up. And I told you before, and I'll say it again, they're just going to keep pushing the same rhetoric about Russia.
And that was my intro into the show tonight. When are the people going to say, we're watching this going on? These people are supposed to be working for us, and all they're doing is working to stop him from helping us. And it's just, to me, it's part of the definition of insanity is to watch somebody do something that is not going to help you and say nothing. That I don't know. That just doesn't equate with me. It doesn't go.
Well, the problem is that President Trump is following advice from people because he really has to. I mean, if he did what he wanted to do, he would bulldoze the people that, I mean, I'm talking about flat out bulldoze the people out of their positions. And even when they're out of their positions, it might be a Jimmy Hoffa. But the good thing about it is things are still getting done, but they don't get talked about that much. You'll get just a glimpse, maybe a minuscule amount of what he has accomplished, because you and I and many other people do talk about his accomplishments, but not on mainstream. I mean, mainstream's flame stream. Yeah. There's nothing except for the LBG and whatever else that they want to talk about. It's nothing about him doing good, ever.
And this is part of my point tonight, is when is it going to be the people step up and go, hey, enough already? We're tired of hearing this. A lot of the people I speak with feel like I feel. We're sick and tired of watching what's going on, but they seem to be like clueless as to what's the next step. What can we do? I'm saying there are ways to remove these people who are causing these problems. Let's remove them. Let's take them out of office. There are steps that we can take to have them removed. I think it's called a recall. I may be wrong, but I think that's one of the things that we can do is recall them and have a new election for a new representative. If once these people understand that we understand we have the power, we talked about this last night on the Paraversal Universe show. Once the people understand that we are the ones who have the power, they will begin to shake in their shoes and behave themselves again. But right now, they know that we don't. They've done everything they can to keep us divided, and they know that the majority of us don't know that, and so they're taking advantage of it in every opportunity that they get.
I'm going to tell you why the right, the conservative right, doesn't really push it. It is because, and I've said it before, the left have mob mentality and the right have job mentality. It's not to be repetitious, it's just to be explain it.
Mm-hmm.
The right knows that the minute that we start forcing what we know we should do, the left starts rioting, torching, destroying, burning. You know this. I mean, this
We're
is not
watching
any.
it.
It doesn't take anything to figure this out. The reason that we continue to stay civil is because we're dealing with uncivilized people.
But
So if we want to see our cities aflame, looking like Notre Dame, it's going to be when we go after the people that are sitting in these seats. And we know this.
Yep.
And that's why a lot of us are hesitant, because we don't want to see every business burned to cinder. And you know it, Riscalla.
Well, I mean, and I'm wondering how close we are to that point now, where people are just disgusted with what they're seeing. I was speaking with a couple of my neighbors the other day, and they're thoroughly disgusted. Now, they're pretty much in my age group, probably within a couple of years of me. But they've told me the same thing that I've been telling other people. They've never seen anything like this. Not in your face like this kind of thing, where this is openly criminals open in your face, and yet seemingly nothing is going on. And there's two kinds of justices, one for those with the right last name and those with the wrong last name. And it's, again, people are just tired. I think, to me, from what I hear, in my experience, people are tired of this. And my fear is that the other side continues to push and push and push. At what point does our side go, we're going to defend ourselves because we can't deal with you anymore? And then we have all that war.
It's coming, and we know that it's coming. And the closer it gets to the election is when it is going to hit the fan.
It's going to ramp up.
Because in the midterms, nobody gets excited, or let me rephrase that, not everybody gets excited about midterms. Some people we see, oh my God, we're losing these seats, but we really care about the presidency, because the day that Donald Trump got elected, I woke up to my America, to the USA that I grew up in, and I knew with him at the helm. But that's the biggie. And when we look at the crowds, they can't fill a Dixie cup with the people that are coming to see them speak. I mean, I'm using that as a exaggeration, but compared to the crowds that Trump gets,
yep, I
there's
agree.
no comparison.
Yep. Yeah, and so again, this just kind of furthers my point. It's apparently, to me, at least, we outnumber these people by vast numbers. And if the information is correct, Judicial Watch showed at least almost 1 million fraudulent votes. That means he won the popular vote on top of that, as well as the electoral votes. So how is it that we're just sitting silently by and allowing these people to do this? The time has come for us to band together, and the common bond would be, look, you guys, you work for us, it's time to go to work. The key word being work. Go to work. Enough of this insanity. And if they don't go to work, then we need to pull them out of office. And again, there are ways to do that. And the steps are there. All we have to do is find out which one. What's the first one? I think we have to start with a petition. I think, if I'm not mistaken, but I think the process is called a recall, where they just literally are taken out of office. You're fired.
I know. Look, you think that Omar should be sitting in a seat?
Isn't
She
it?
is blatantly anti-American. I don't care how much she says, I love America. She might, Central and South America, but not the U.S. of A.
This
is somebody that gets in front of people and basically reprimands people that have been sitting in higher seats for generations, and she blasts them. I saw her on the floor.
She's horrible.
So, and nobody does anything, because you and I know, as your listeners and the people that listen to the show, that they brought in all those people from Somalia, made her area a crap hole, and they voted her in. So the people in her constituents in her area, they're not going to get her out of there. They voted her in.
Well, but there must be another way to get her out of her. There has to be. There has to be another way to get her out.
There is.
I mean, other than violence, there has to be another way to get.
I never say anything about violence, because I think that the wits beat the fist to begin with.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is exposing somebody, because people have dirt on each other. It's not going to come from the right to get them out. It's
What a
going
sad
to have
way
to
to
come
get
from
through
the
life.
left, because they know the dirty deeds of each other.
Yeah. What a sad way to go through life, right? Hey, I got
Gosh.
something on you. Whatever you say about me, I can say this about. What a way to go through life. Oh my gosh. Wow. How sad
I mean,
is
if
that?
you really think about it, Riscalla, if Hillary, to even say the words coming out of my mouth, but if the election had turned, let's just say that.
Gosh.
Do you understand that Anthony Weiner, number one, would never have gotten busted? He'd
Right.
be in a big position with Huma
Yep.
and getting every bit of our classified. A pervert.
Yeah.
Now, he's not the only one. That's the party of perverts.
Yeah.
So, and pedophiles. And just imagine, so at least we have breathing space. We've got our nose above the water with Trump.
For now, I mean, my what's the best way to explain it? My perception with what I'm seeing is that they have doubled down in their efforts, if anything, to continue to harass him. Really, this is harassment. This is really, when it's all said and done, it's not that, he's done this and that's a bunch of nonsense. This is harassment of the president. Anything that they can do to stop him from succeeding, they're going to do. And again, I'm back to what I started with. It's us, the people, that really need to step in here and go, enough of your nonsense. Let's find a way to get these people out and find someone else to take their place. And if they don't do it, we'll do it again. Let's get them out and continue to do that until once they being the people who are supposed to represent us, once they have a fear of losing their job, because right now they don't. There's no fear of losing their job. And on top of that, even if they are not reelected, they still get all these benefits when they leave. It's disgusting, the benefits that they get. Nobody gets benefits like that. Once they are fired,
I know.
Once they're fired and they don't get all of that, and the word gets out, maybe then they'll start behaving themselves. But to me, that's the next logical step, is to remove these people who do not belong where they are. They absolutely don't. And there's 4 of them that come to mind. Rashid is one of them. AOC, Alexandria, the crazy girl. Omar, whatever her name is, and the other one, I see her face and I can't think of her name.
Omar.
Yeah. The other one, I see her face and I can't think of her name. But anyway, there's at least 4 of them that have openly, these are people who in their offices have pictures of Osama bin Laden, supposedly the greatest enemy of our country, to have success, supposedly, and I know better, but supposedly, he's the one who was responsible for 9/11. Why would you have a picture of him in your office? a picture of Che. Che? You know who I'm talking about? This Cuban guy that killed all the people.
Chavez.
Chavez. Yeah. A picture of him. You know.
And listen, Riscalla. They don't like America. They don't like America.
That's my point. Why do we allow it? Why do we permit this?
They have been voted in by other people who don't like America or the USA either. They are trying to turn us. I know I feel for you, and I care about you, and I love you, and we're banging our heads because we're never going to understand.
Frustrating. It is. It's frustrating.
It's very frustrating, but we still won the election, the big one. I mean, they are winning Penny Ante right now. We not only won the election, the Mueller report came back, no.
And they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do because let me tell you something. They were the reports for Russia. They were not looking for anything. They were looking for something. Just give me something.
Yeah.
Nothing in particular. Any kind of tidbit. They tried to tie shoelaces with no shoes. And we still came out with no collusion.
And they don't know what to do. But there are people who are saying, "Oh yes, there is. We have to investigate some more. There has to be." There's still people trying to push that idea that there needs to be more investigations.
Yeah.
Again, a waste of money, a waste of time, a waste for the American people. Because they could be
realistically, who cares? We've got immigrants illegally lined up at the voting booth. I care about that. I don't give a crap about 6 Russians hacking. No, I have no interest in that whatsoever. But I do care when people go up to a voting booth and can't even tell what the word entrance and exit means on the door because they don't speak our language.
But
that I care about.
They know Democrat, though. They see the party Democrat.
They know the color of what's red and what's blue.
That's shameful. Shameful. So, yes. So you can feel my frustration. You can hear my frustration in my voice. It really is, to me, it's pretty logical that we should be doing more than what we're doing. That to leave it up to the president. And this was, from the time he was elected, I was telling people on the show, just because he's the president doesn't mean all your problems are going away. And just because he's the president doesn't mean he can take care of everything. We still have a responsibility. And we need to step up to the plate. We haven't done that. Many of us have voiced our opinions, but nobody's really stepped up to the plate and said, you know what, let's start taking these people out. That's enough of this insanity. Whatever is required to do that. If it's a petition that starts, let's start a petition.
Plus, there's a lot of lobbying to have people removed. Also, lobbying isn't just for companies.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
There's some ways.
Yeah?
Yes. So it's a backdoor way, but it gets done. And you can use that word whichever way you want to use it. But I'm just telling you, it's going into people's ears. But the fear of the destruction of towns scares people as well. It should. It shouldn't scare them from fighting for the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just telling you, businesses burnt to the ground is not a pleasantry.
No, I know.
And that's what will happen. I know that's frustrating, too, because, so what do? Be silent? No, we're not silent. What do? Stop trying to get them out of office? No, we don't stop trying. But it's got to be, it has to look like that somebody from their team did it. Otherwise, because when anybody does anything on their team, they defend them.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it really is disgusting. It doesn't matter who they are and what they've done. They find some type of justification. The small A thing was a perfect example of his attempt to increase the racial divide in this country, and to blame it on people of light skin and supporters of the president, and then find out the
I
entire
know.
thing's a scam and nothing's going to happen to the guy. You know,
I know.
there's-
It's absolutely, if that were reversed, there, you know, and I know there would be towns burnt to the ground. And it was, not to make a joke of it, but right after Smollett's, it just makes me sick. But after everything was dropped and case dismissed, some scientists came out where they discovered a black hole, and I said, I think I know where they discovered it. Because this guy has totally said everything that would get everybody up against Trump supporters. White, MAGA hats.
Yeah.
This is MAGA country in Chicago, in a very uppity side of town. Somebody running around. This is so ridiculous. There isn't a simpleton on the planet that believed that story.
Well, apparently, the prosecutor felt that it was, what was her words? He's already suffered enough. I may be thinking of something that Trump said. But apparently she didn't feel strong enough to bring up charges against him, where the police union has now asked for her resignation. They've lost all confidence in her. And she's also backed by Soros, by the way. $400,000 donated to her campaign.
Soros.
Yeah.
Look, the guy's name was Schwartz. He changed it like dinosaurs, S-A-U-R-S, and then to Greekanize it to Soros.
Mm-hmm.
Please. He's letting us know he's a reptile. Matter of fact, I'm serious, his son is called his spawn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you for real? He refers to his son as his spawn?
Well, I'm not saying he does, but in articles that he's speaking to people, they say, and your spawn. Yes.
Wow.
The guy's total reptilian. If you pulled up his eyelid, you'd find a slit more than you'd find an iris.
So it's probably very much like the demon that threw the little boy over the railing at the mall. He's another reptile.
I mean, they're total serpent seeds, and you don't. Nobody will deny that somebody like that has no soul.
No
what kind of
soul.
person
Oh, my
picks
God.
up a little kid?
And the story is he was looking for somebody to kill that day. And they changed his name? They changed his name, right? You know that.
Yes, yes.
So it wouldn't resemble a particular kind of person.
Yes. I mean, the news is the most magical. It's more magical than Lucky Charm, because everything you see, something changes immediately. And not only does it change, usually there's a cap and gown on somebody that's never gotten past third grade. Then they're like a baccalaureate, that they're some kind of exceptional student. They're more like a student.
There we go. The play on words again, student.
Students. But Riscalla, the bottom line is we won, and we've got to focus on winning again. We don't even have to. I know what you're saying about getting people out of office, but we got to focus on this next election for Trump getting in. Because from all the picks in the Democrats, all of them, there's nobody that's qualified. Who can you name on their side that would be even remotely qualified to run this country other than running into the ground?
Bernie Sanders. Not.
Oh, my God. That guy looks like he put on his suit with a egg beater, and then he looks like he should be eating Cracker Jacks, like on a park bench feeding birds. He's squirmed his way up in Vermont, but you better look at Vermont's history too. They've got their own problems, and he wants to run the country. Please. He runs his mouth, but he can't run the country.
You might remember last night I mentioned there was somebody running for president, and he said, basically, I'm taking your guns. Either I'm buying your guns or I'm coming to take them from you. and I think his name is like Solwell or something like that. He's out of California, I think, and he's. This is what we have to look forward to. I mean, they're openly in your face telling you what they want to do. They want to disarm you so that they can further, what's the word I'm looking for? Abuse you. Abuse your rights. We have little to no privacy as it is now, and they know that we're armed. Imagine how they would treat us if they knew we couldn't defend ourselves. Not that that would be possible, but...
Yeah, that's never going to happen because it's never going to happen because legal people that are legally carrying are not going to let people take away the only protection we have against the illegals that are carrying. I mean, let's get real. Who's going to take them? Who's going to take our arms?
They have police who have been conditioned to believe that this is the best thing that they... There's a guy in Connecticut, I can't think of his name, who openly said, I can't wait for the day to go door to door and collect guns. This was right after the Sandy deal, the Sandy hoax deal.
That's fine until he goes to the wrong door, and then it'll be the last door.
Well, maybe for him, but then there's how many more have we got behind him? That's the thing.
It doesn't take. Listen, it's not going to happen. There's too many people in this country right now that are God-fearing and aren't going to let a bunch of serpents try to unarm us so they can use us for some kind of cabal. As we're prey, P-R-E-Y. It's not going to happen. It's something that they dream up. It's kind of like no path to the White House. They just talk this talk and try to get us all revved up, but nothing like that could ever happen at this point. When it comes down to if that became into fruition where people were collecting, it's going to be a civil war. It's that simple.
That's my fear. That is my concern right there. That they push us to the point of a civil war. And I believe that the people behind all of this, the people driving all of this, that's what they really want, inevitably, to create chaos, and then they'll get their order out of that chaos. And that's what I would like to avoid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're trying to divide us as we speak. Everything is divided straight down. I mean, between race, religion, nationality, creed, everything is straight down the line. And even gender. There's no gender either. So that's the only thing that they won't divide. There's only one gender, nor girl nor boy, just hobbly-hoy. So we know their game plan, and a lot of us aren't playing. So...
And a lot of us are exposing. A lot of us are exposing.
Put on my MAGA hat tonight and go look for a fight. I mean, I'm just telling you.
You know, I would believe much of what you're saying, but just think back maybe even as short as 10 years ago, 18 years ago, 2000. In the year 2000, if I would have said to you, or no, actually 2001, if I would have said to you, we are going to have, after the government has claimed that it was Muslims, of course we know better, but after the government claimed that Muslims were responsible for 9/11, if I'd said to you back then, we're going to have Muslims in our government, Muslims who are openly against our country, I mean, I'm laughing because it's so sad, I would cry. Nobody would believe me. They would think I was crazy if I said anything like that. But look at what we're looking at. So, yeah, they wouldn't be able.
Let me just interject this about that. I agree with you, but I have to say this. It would be different. Let's just say there was a Muslim, because there are some that I know that if they were elected, they would be going, look, I am assimilated, and I know them. They don't look. They don't have the hijab on. They're not full gear. They're Americanized. That love this country.
Yeah.
I could accept that, but not somebody wagging their finger at us, going, "We're here to change America.
That's right. Yeah.
We're here to to change it and to bring our way. America has treated such and such bad and this and that. If there was a Muslim that said this is the greatest country on God's planet, I'm here to not only assimilate, but to bring it up even higher and hopefully bring some other Muslims. But they don't. We don't even find any of them. And when a Muslim does something bad, you don't see Muslims out going crazy saying how awful it was. They just keep their yap shut because they live in fear themselves. They like their heads between their shoulders, and it would be off in like 2 seconds flat.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's a difference between some Muslims that do love this country and those that just despise it. And the ones that despise it want to get in office because they want to change they're trying to breed us out.
Oh, yeah. And they're succeeding at it. The data shows that they're literally succeeding. They've already overcome the United Kingdom. And they're working at Canada, and they're succeeding here in the United States. We don't allow anyone else to have multiple wives, but yet when these people come over here and they have 3 and 4 and 5 wives, we not only do we allow it, we support it for them. We pay them extra for having the wives and the children. And so they're absolutely succeeding in outbreeding us as well.
And that's their plan. They have, I don't care if somebody wants to second guess me. I lived in the Middle East. They have 40 to 50 kids, some 80. Osama bin Laden had dozens and dozens and dozens of children.
He had many wives.
They know that there's a bloodline.
Yeah.
That's why there's a difference between the Sunni and the Shia. They know it's bloodlines. And that's why they even fight first they kill each other, then they go after the Jew on Saturday and the Christian on Sunday. I mean, don't forget they slaughter each other more than anybody else.
Yeah, that's sad. What a mentality! What a way to go through life. To just some of the things that they do, and this Sharia law that they're pushing for Sharia law here in the United States. They're pushing for Sharia law. This is absolutely unacceptable. The fact that they would even be able to bring it up is disturbing. But they're trying different places that they're trying to affect that.
Lobbied to the hilt to stop that, and I happen to, be on board with knowing that there is somebody fighting that tooth and nail and succeeding, because that's the most ridiculous thing. Now, some judges have agreed with it, giving them their religious rights.
I know. But that's not. But Islam is really not a religion. Islam is a political movement. It's a political deity all within itself, and it's camouflaged as a religion. But if you look at the basis of it and how it works, it's political. It's a political system. It's a whole guideline of laws that are already in place and just waiting to. It's like when you see a business for sale, they call it turnkey. You just walk in, turn the key, and you're in business. It's that kind of a setup. Everything's already there. They just move in place and dominate.
Like I said last night on the show, all I need to know is that the sword is their symbol. That tells me everything I need to know straight away. It's not like they're throwing fairy dust. They're telling us with their calling card with a sword.
I agree.
And I happen to like my head between my shoulders.
Me too. Me too. The thing about, I don't know, the thing
but
about
I mean, Trump tried at the very beginning, let's stop some of the countries from letting them come in. I mean, remember, that was one of his first steps, was to stop immigration from certain areas that hate America. Why do I want somebody to come here that hates our country?
Really?
Stay at your own country.
Yeah, you can hate us all you want from your country. Just don't come over here.
Yes.
Well, Trump has, I believe he'll end up being the greatest leader, the world leader the world has ever known up until this time. That's just my personal opinion. I think that he has done a phenomenal job, even though he's doing stuff I don't agree with. But that's part of the deal. I don't know that if we ever found somebody that we agreed with 100%, wow, that would be amazing. I think it's next to impossible. But again, I'm not privy to a lot of the stuff that he is privy to. So some of the stuff that he's decided to go forward with that I would not have, I don't have that information. He has my deepest respect. Somebody who can work for free, for Pete's sake, and take the abuse that he takes day in and day out, and still fight 100% day in and day out for us, you know. I'm going to play a clip. I just want to remind people. This was him before the election. This is what he was saying before the election. And now compare that to what we're seeing today.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another four-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever is necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented, and the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefits of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
So you can pretty much see that he spoke about a corrupt system, which we know the system is absolutely corrupt. He spoke about a small group of people who are constantly enriching themselves with these wars. And there's a couple of other things he spoke about that we've already seen him go and accomplish what he said he was going to do. So here's the proof that this man is what he says he is, that he's going to do what he says he's going to do. This was, I think, right around inauguration time, or it may have been even the inauguration itself. So you can see that was a little over 2 years ago now. Or going on, no, it's a little over 2 years. And you can take a look at what he's done versus what he said he was going to do. And to me, it's pretty clear. He's going to continue doing what he's doing. The people that are after him, the people that continue to resist, are the people that are in fear. The reason that they are in fear is they know that they are going to be brought to justice, basically. They're going to be held responsible. Finally, somebody's going to hold them responsible. And they can't deal with that. Huh? What do you think, Angel?
I love that man. I just love him. And every word that he says resonates with me as absolutely truthful. That's exactly how he feels. And I know this. He didn't need this position because it's more than a job. It's more than a career. It's a position, and it's put him and his health and his family in absolute turmoil because it's non-stop against him. But he does have some of us, many of us, that support him, and he refers to his winning as we winning, us,
right?
Our country.
Big difference between him.
Obama referred to I, me,
right.
I. Everything was about him. Trump never, ever forgets. He always remembers God, and he always remembers he's speaking for him. It's for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Big difference
and
between
we did this.
Yeah.
I just love him. I mean, and he calls Clinton criminals.
Yep. Yep, and I believe...
we had Bill Clinton, old B.J. Clinton, Bill Jefferson. He made the Oval Office into ovulation office. And so what? You know, people just don't care. I mean, they tried to get him in trouble, and the impeachment went through and then was thrown out. But I'm just telling you, why they pointed at something... Remember they said, Trump said something to Billy Bush. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's boy talk. He didn't do anything. And even if he did, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
I care about him running this country. And he's running it
really,
perfectly.
That's the bottom line. I was going to say something about Clinton, and you completely threw me off. I keep thinking about the Bill Jefferson part.
Wow. He lived up to his initials.
Yeah, he certainly.
What can I say?
He certainly did. Wow, I lost complete track of what I was going to mention.
But you know that speech is heartfelt, just like all of the speeches he gives.
Yeah, that's part of the problem with those who don't really understand that he's not a politician. They're expecting him to be this smooth talking like the last guy was, really smooth, and everything went down. I am going to kill you, but it sounds so sweet that you just want to hear more of it. That kind of thing. Instead, you get this guy who is, he's rough. He speaks from the heart, and he doesn't cut any corners. There's no filter, a political filter, specifically. And he just says what he feels from his heart. And I think the people who supported him as that being part of the reason that they know that they're dealing with the real deal. They're not somebody out there who is plastic, if you will. They're one, they're one way.
We've had a silver-tongued devil. That's why they're called devils.
Yeah.
And we don't want a milquetoast in there. I want somebody that goes to the negotiating table to make a deal, not go in there to squeal. I mean, we've got a businessman. This country is a business. I mean, we have businesses across the globe, and somebody needs to know what a bottom line is. Now, yes, there's deficits that are going sky high. I understand all that. He's trying to get the funds to the right places, and that's the other thing that nobody takes into account, or some people don't take into account. He's trying to fund our military to keep us safe, take care of our vets, get that bill passed where vets can go to any doctor or any hospital.
I think he was successful, by the way. I think he was finally went through.
Yes.
Because that was something I was watching.
All this doesn't get brought up that much.
No, and I've spoken very much about how the previous administration looked at veterans basically as domestic terrorists. We had all kinds of strikes against us. If you were a Christian, that was one strike. If you were concealed carry, that's another strike. If you were white, believe it or not, that was another strike. There's a couple of other things.
If you were straight, that's another one.
It's all of these. They considered us literally domestic terrorists, and that table has been turned around. And I believe only because of this president. I think that if he weren't the president, we would still be probably even worse now than we would ever have been dealing with these people with regard to our vets and how they view our vets. It really was disgusting what they were doing. I suffered a little bit of that early on from the Vietnam War. We came back from, my friends came back from Vietnam. And they were called I was called a baby killer as well, spit upon. I suffered a little bit of that mentality from back then, and it was tough. It was really tough. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine if your government looks at you that way, thinks of you as, you're garbage, get out. You're a threat to, and we are a threat. We're a threat to them because we know that they are operating under the guise of legality, when in reality, it is all illegal. What they're doing is unconstitutional, and what they have done is betrayed this country. And in reality, that would be called treason, which is exactly what this president, the word this president has been using more and more recently.
Listen, when Obama was in and had that traitor, treasonous piece of human waste, Bo Bergdahl, go into the Rose Garden and have his parents with his, and he was a dirt bag. You know that. Mm-hmm. And here Obama lets him have a Rose Garden ceremony. The only time I would permit that guy to be in a Rose Garden is if he was made into a bag of fertilizer. I am serious. Why did he get to come back after he had people killed? He had servicemen killed looking for him.
This was the insanity that was driving me up the wall as I'm witnessing all of this going on. And then he sends Iran, what was $1.7 billion, and somebody told me it was used bills. Whatever difference, it was cash. Whether it was used or unused, what difference does it make? It was cash.
Where'd he get it?
Yeah. Why didn't anybody speak up about it? See, these are all the people that are going to be in trouble here very shortly. Nobody spoke up. Nobody said, "Hey, wait a minute, you can't do that." And to say, so anyway, we've gone from basically the darkness and moving into the light. And it's more and more as days pass, we are getting closer and closer to bringing these people to justice. I mentioned earlier in the show, at the beginning of the show, Devin Nunes, 8 criminal referrals. He hasn't given the names, but I'm very sure, I have no doubt in my mind, they're well known. When the names come out, it won't be as a stranger. You'll know that you will have heard that name many, many times before.
Oh, yes. And I'm hoping that it's no cakewalk for them once the names come out, because I hope they start turning on each other, because that's what it's really going to take.
I think it's already starting a little bit. I think I'm seeing a little bit of that already, where the rats are starting to turn upon each other.
Yeah, because they'll eat their young if they get put into a corner.
All right, it's that magic time again, so don't go away. Let's see if we get this started here.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Being a dad is an adventure full of special moments.
A cruise?
Surprise! Unexpected moments.
I got this.
And even awkward moments.
Okay, Dad, thank you.
But every moment you spend with your kids, even the smallest moments, can make the biggest impact on your child's life. So take a moment to be a dad today.
There's a lot of fear in coming back to school. I wasn't sure if I could do it. I'm a 40-year-old man that walked in there to get his high school diploma. It was very hard for me, but the teachers, the counselors, they help you. One of the teachers was Miss Araceli. Miss Araceli, she gave me direction. Every single time I had a question, she'll put down whatever she's doing and she'll come over and she'll sit there with you until you get it. Thank you, Miss Araceli. I know you make a difference in people's lives because of the person and teacher you are. I wanted to be here because I wanted to thank you for helping me get a beautiful gift. 50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is doing the work. Getting your high school diploma, it is a life-changing experience. It really is.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Have you ever heard of Audible? Audible is a website with hundreds of thousands of audiobooks. They're all high quality, easy to listen to, and, best of all, if you take advantage of a special deal that we've worked out for you, you can get one for free. That's right, a free audiobook of your choice in any genre, simply by going to audibletrial.com/openeyes and signing up for the free trial. It's simple to do, and it would support the shows that we bring to you, and hey, you get a free book out of the whole thing. So why not take advantage of it today? Go to audibletrial.com/openeyes and sign up for the trial.
Ask 10 different scientists about the environment, population control, genetics, and you'll get 10 different answers. But there's one thing every scientist on the planet agrees on. Whether it happens in 100 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, eventually our sun will grow cold and go out. When that happens, it won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe, and Lao Tzu, and Einstein, and Morobuto, and Buddy Holly, and Aristophanes. All of this was for nothing. Unless we go to the stars.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
While other stations just talk a good game, we win it.
Hey, sounds like somebody's having a lot of fun.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Goes, 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 goes,
Now, from sunny South Florida, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla. Every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight on the L&M Network. And now, your host, Riscalla.
Okay, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. I'm your host, Riscalla, and tonight I have my special co-host, Angel Strong. You want to call in and join in on the conversation, you can do that. The phone number is area code 561-440-5174. If you got a question or a comment or you just want to kind of join in, you can do that. 561-440-5174. And just stay muted and we'll bring you on pretty quick. We don't keep people waiting very often. Anyway, we are back, and it is Angel. Welcome back. Thank you for taking the time to call in. And by the way, while I'm thinking about it, Angel is going to be doing her own show on Mondays. I think it is, right? Mondays?
Yeah. Yep.
Mondays 1 to 2 or?
Yes, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time.
Exactly.
And the name of
some people.
The name of the show
is Bare-Knuckled. Bare-Knuckled Angel Strong.
There you
Biblical scholar and political brawler.
I love it. I love it. Because she has had the privilege of being around some very influential people. One of the people that comes to mind is Pastor Kahn. An amazing man.
Yeah.
I've never had the opportunity to meet him personally. I've interviewed him for one of my shows. I did that about 2 or 3 years ago. I interviewed him for the book that he wrote, The Harbinger. But a very influential man and a very amazing individual, how he's able to take scripture and tie it into events that have occurred recently as well as events that are happening presently. And that makes the hairs on my arm stand up. It really is amazing. If you are unfamiliar with, and I think he's also a rabbi, right? He's a rabbi as well as a pastor.
Yeah, he's a Messianic rabbi. So he's born Jewish. Jew is it's a race more than it is a religion as Judaism. Mm-hmm. So he was born Jewish, raised Jewish, and then he found the Messiah.
And became
So
he's a pastor.
Is both.
Yeah.
Can I tell you how did I ever tell you how I ended up meeting him in our first interview?
No.
Riscalla. I never told you how.
No.
Okay.
Tell me how you met.
I was at a conference. I know I was at a conference, and I wanted to speak with him. I was with Avi Lipkin, and I think L.A. Marzulli, who I adore, and Bill Solis. We were all there, and I was talking to all the guys, and I wanted to talk to Jonathan. I said, Jonathan, do you have a minute before I leave? I think I was flying back privately or something. And he was flying. He said, I don't have time. I'd love to talk to you, but I don't have time because I've got to get to the airport. If he listens, I might even send this to Lucille, his secretary, to listen to this show because he'll remember how we met. And it was at SeaWorld in Orlando, and we were all staying at the Renaissance Center. Well, he got into the elevator by himself, and many hotels have elevators that are just boxy, but this one happened to be all glass. You understand? You could see everything.
Yeah.
So he gets up there, and he had just told me he couldn't because he was in a hurry, and he gets in by himself, and the elevator gets stuck between the third and fourth floor for 20 minutes. He could see me looking at him, and I could see him looking out, and then, of course, he came back. He goes, I think that's a sign. I'll sit with you. He was so embarrassed because everybody was staring at him, and what can you do? He was calling to get out.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was just hilarious. And then he made a beeline back, and then we sat together. I had two people with two other people from Lebanese media, and we sat down with him, and we just had an absolute blast. But he puts pieces together even better than I do about the synchronicity of everything that comes together, like he did in The Harbinger, his book, The Harbinger, which was awesome. And he got up at National Prayer Day, and with Obama sitting there,
I remember. Go ahead.
Yes, he threw some big zingers. He didn't hold any punches.
Yeah.
He went straight in for the
surprised.
the knockout. This was no TKO.
I'm surprised they didn't escort him out.
I love him. He's a great guy, but he is very, very smart, and he puts pieces together like
it is amazing.
He's a puzzle solver.
That's what I find amazing. He takes things out of the scripture and he goes and then compares them to things that are like 9/11. The Harbinger, I think much of it is about 9/11, or 9/11 works in there somehow. I'm not quite sure. I don't recall the interview we had, but I know 9/11 was part of it. And he pulls out of the scripture how these people were doing these things in the scripture, and then he points out things that are just occurred, almost the same thing, the same kind of what would you call it? I can't think of the word.
Well, I know he compares things to. He puts
Ritual.
it from the biblical perspective into the Trade Center or the Twin Towers, and he does it even mathematically, not
That's
just
crazy. Yeah.
I mean, not just scriptural through the scripture, but he goes even a step further. How many steps it took, how high it was, what year it was, and he just puts it all together. And man, does he lay out? He lays it out, and he does it in such a way that, and it's easy. It is easy for the layman to understand. He doesn't use anything that is out of reach for somebody to understand what he's talking about. And he's awesome.
So that's
I just love him.
That's just one of the people that I think of that you've had the privilege of meeting up with. I wasn't aware. Do you know L.A. too? You know L.A. Marzulli?
Yes, I love L.A. As a matter of fact, my home girl, and I'm not going to say who she is because she is. You know who she is, and she is famous.
Yeah.
But I had him do a show with her. I mean, this was...
Oh, that one must have blown her mind.
You're talking to L.A. Marzulli, her, myself. I brought in another scholar, a good friend of mine, who actually was a Dead Sea Scrolls scholar. He teaches in Orlando at the University of Central Florida. So L.A. was brought on to regular media. You know, it wasn't anything about anything. Oh, I know what it was. it was when Obama said we need to get back to the 67 borders in Israel.
Mm.
So I brought L.A. Marzulli into that with myself, my homegirl, and some other people, and a rabbi. But I'll tell you something also. I was raised with the first, I guess I'm just going to say it, with the first attorney for Watergate, Richard Gerstein. And I've mentioned him before, but I don't get into the background. But he was the first one that ever got a conviction in Watergate for bank fraud and wiretapping. So,
and that was like a cakewalk compared to what recently happened with the last administration.
I mean, you're talking so different. Just absolutely.
And look how they skewered that man. Right, they just literally raked him over the coal, which deservingly. I mean, he did what he did. But the comparison. Look at the comparison though, where this last administration did far worse, and they patted him on the back and good job.
I know. I don't understand why. Well, I do understand. I take that back. Let me rephrase that. I wish that somebody would really go after this wiretapping, this surveillance, which is just against every single thing that privacy. I mean, we know we've lost all of our privacy. We know that now for sure. The Echo, Alexa, smartphones, anything that's out there, they're recording absolutely everything. There's nothing private.
And that's another thing that I don't understand. Why aren't people upset about that? That regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you should value your privacy. Not that you have anything to hide, but you do have. I have plenty to hide. It's called my privacy. That's why it's called privacy. I don't want everybody knowing every little thing that I do, listening to every word that I say. You know, sometimes I get mad and I might say something out of anger that I really don't mean, you know, but it's not very nice. But if you take it out of context and listen to it and go, oh my God, what kind of person is that? Or they take that and then somehow leak it out. You know, you're a famous person and they leak it out to the press and it makes you look like, you know, the devil incarnate kind of thing. First of all, they don't.
Listen, we know this. We just went through 2 months ago where they edit stuff, and believe me, they can edit it to make you really look like the devil incarnate by just a touch of a keystroke. They did that when they edited the tape with Nathan Phillips, that fake Indian. I want his DNA swab, and I want it now. He does not look like no Native American whatsoever. Elizabeth Warren's got more Native American than he does.
His tribe is
But they
shunned
made
him.
that Sandman kid look like a heathen, in which he wasn't.
They even have programs now that what Adobe Photoshop is to pictures. I can't think of the name of this program. This program is to video and audio. So you know how you can take a picture in Photoshop and you can completely manipulate that picture into something unbelievable and still make it look very real. They can also do that now with people's voices and video. And I can't think of the name of the program, but it was popular for a while there. People were reporting on it, and I don't hear much about it anymore. So the manipulation is out there. It's easy to duplicate somebody saying something, or even actually falsifying somebody. You can have a video of somebody saying something they never said, and still their mouth is making the appropriate moves in order to form the words, and you would believe it was absolutely true because it's a video. How can you not believe it? Well, it's the same thing as the Photoshop. How can you not? It's a photo. How can you not believe it? Well, we all know better.
Look, Riscalla, after the presidential debates, and somebody hilariously, I'm sure you saw it, had Hillary and Trump singing to each other.
Oh yes, I
they
saw
had
that.
mouth. Did you see that?
Yep. Yeah, that was
I mean,
funny.
it looked like if nobody knew what it was so hilarious. Of course, we knew it was lip syncing and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying that was somebody playing. Imagine if somebody really wanted
serious,
to, and they do what they can do.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing that Trump is up against. This is what he's fighting. These are the kind of people that represent the other side for him, because their cash cow's coming to. If he succeeds, which I believe he will, the cash cow's coming to an end. This is really the bottom line about all this. Their power that they have had in place for so long, that they were so sure, they were so positive that was going to be Hillary Clinton, and things were going to be increased for them, decreased for us, and that their status with regard to power in place would be even greater with her there. They were so sure that all of this was going to happen. And, of course, we know it did not happen. And now they are scrambling. They are absolutely scrambling and changing their underwear on a regular basis because they really don't know what to do. You know? They really don't know what to do anymore. Look at...
Well, Bill has always changed his underwear.
But they're grasping. They're grasping at straws. We want to see his taxes. Come on, Anyway, I want to go back to something I mentioned earlier. How you were able to point something out to me about the global thing. The church in Notre Dame, that now, I don't know what the latest is on it, but as of last night, I read an article that said that they are going to rebuild the church with, quote, less Christian influence in it. And then you brought up the global thing. So that kind of ties in, because I've read many articles over the years, and I kept laughing at them saying this will never happen. And the articles were referring to a one-world religion, and the name of the religion they believed at the time, which I still think is probably going to be Chrislam, a mixture of Christians and Islam together, Chrislam, and that is going to be the one-world religion. Well, if we see a place like Notre Dame being burned down, and it's questionable how this place burned down to begin with. This place survived 2 world wars, for Pete's sake, and now all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, nice day, and it's on massive fire burning. Anyway, so my point being is that with your mention with the global, and this burning of this church, and then this mentioning of, well, we will rebuild it, but we will rebuild it with less Christian influence, and the money that has poured in. They didn't need any of this money. My God, I think there were $50 billion. It was their surplus. 50 billion, $50 billion. They didn't need a penny. So they've gotten, I think, was it 700 million so far.
It's closing in on $1 billion right now.
So the idea that you mentioned about the global being a praise for Baal, this is, to me, now this makes sense, that all of these, there was, I believe, over a dozen churches that have been somehow desecrated or attacked or destroyed. Some of them actually destroyed in Paris over the last, I think it was a year and a half, by being attacked by various ways of being attacked. And it is an attack on Christianity, which I have never seen to the depth that I have seen today. I have never seen such an attack on Christianity. Open, in-your-face attacks about Christianity. And again, to me, it's like a testimony about this one world religion. And then I think about global, and what we break it down to global, the praise of the deity who is supposed to be a great God, which we know better. But I wanted to get your feedback. Were you aware that they were going to rebuild? They're, quote, rebuilding the Notre Dame with a...
Yes, of course. Not only am I aware of it, they're going to try to meld all religions, also to make it updated to what the demographics are over there now. So it would not surprise me if they didn't try to meld Chrislam as a part of it.
Yeah.
So to appease what it is today of that mixture of religion and try to modernize it right out of being truly Christian. And for those people that might be listening, I am telling you, the father of Islam, and people don't want to hear this a lot of times. I know pastors, preachers, butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers get upset when they hear it, but people need to know that Ishmael in the biblical text sodomized Isaac, and that is what Sarah saw. You know, in English it says Sarah saw him acting haughty towards Isaac and threw Ishmael and Hagar out. Have you ever heard that story?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's not what it says in Hebrew. It says mitzahek. Mitzahek could mean, you know, being sporty, acting sporty with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But on the majority of times, that word is used for sexual relations, which makes sense why Abraham threw them out with a piece of bread and a jug of water. He saw him getting sodomized. So why is it that the left, who is saying pro-gay, pro-this, pro-that, but are still aligning with Islam, who hates everything supposedly that the left is, and the left and them have united together? It's a very weird, it's a weird combination, and it's going to come out into some weird one world religion. Just, it's all going to be one thing, and that's biblical. And now it's in the political arena, and it's going into the biological arena, and it's going into the world's arena, and we're watching it.
Is that in Revelations that the world will come to a one religion kind of thing that you know of?
It's not in, no, it's not in, and believe me, I'm a biblical scholar in the Hebrew scriptures, and I'd never pretend to be in the Christian scripture. But we know that the entire text points to a separation of sheep and goats. So we know that there is going to be a time, not a division. A division is something different than a separating. But we know that something's going to try to manifest into melding everybody together, and that's when the Messiah comes back and says, that's it, and he's not coming back to play patty cake. He's coming back to separate, to separate those that never belonged together. And it's funny because even politically, we're told the sheep are on his right and the goats are on the left, and that's political and biblical right there.
Wow. It's amazing you bring that up like that. I don't look at it that way, and then. So do you think with this, and we've talked about this before, it'll be the separation of the seed, the serpent's seed?
Yes, it will be the separation of the seed lines. Now, there's a mixed seed. There's some that are totally serpent seed. There's some that are mixed, and then there are some that are fairly pure. But when people like L.A. Marzulli, who are really forefront with the Nephilim and speaking about that, and Joy Pugh, and I adore Joy. I'm hoping to see her in a couple weeks in Georgia. But they know how deep this goes to where these seed lines are running around everywhere. And people think that that's crazy to say, what do you mean that a serpent had relations with that woman in the garden? What do I mean by that? I mean that the first grandson of the Lord God would not be a murderer. And that's Cain. Cain's not the Lord God's son. And we know this now through biology, that a woman can get pregnant and have twins and have two different fathers. You've heard that now. I mean, Jerry Springer, we can thank him for that one, or Maury Povich. I mean, do you see in those shows where it says he is your father, but he's not the father of the other twin?
Yeah.
It's called superfecundation, where you can ovulate and get two different fathers.
And so Abel, you're saying Abel, or excuse me, Cain was seed, serpent seed?
Yes, Cain was not the seed of the Adam. He was not Adam's seed line. I mean, it's just, First of all you have to do is read the biblical text, and it will tell you that Cain, his lineage is there, but there's not one date of how many years he lived. God didn't care. He didn't care.
Mhm.
Cain had Enosh, and he had, all the names are very similar, but no ages for them. And then when Adam had Seth, when Adam and Eve got back together, because they were separated for 130 years, you won't read that in English, but you'll read it in Hebrew clearly. They were separated 130 years. They got back together and had Seth, and this one was in the image of Adam. And then every single person that's listed on that genealogy has ages. He lived 690 years. He lived 740 years. But in Cain, nobody cares about their no ages. And all I'm saying is all the way through the scripture, you'll follow one seed line, and it's always like two brothers that are fighting each other. You've got two nations in the womb, Ishmael against Isaac.
Wow.
The brotherhoods were fighting each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
And it just goes all the way down. And then when you get into the Christian scripture, Messiah himself, he says, "You're from your father, the devil."
Yeah.
And when he says "of the devil," that means begotten from. I mean, I don't want to turn this into total biblical, but the Bible's playing out before our eyes. And it's playing out in the political arena with Trump, because President Trump has made God back to focal point, and the left, who are mostly serpent seeds. Have you ever seen some of their rallies of the left?
Oh. It is a sad excuse for human beings, I'll tell you that. Some of what goes on there.
And human beings is giving them a step up, because I've seen something that looks like a walking dumpster.
Mm.
And
Wow.
I'm not kidding. That woman's march, I guess I just am stuck on that, because what I saw there, I just can't believe. And I just happened to be in D.C. That was inaugural ball week.
Mhm.
But that's where the march was, and I saw people there that there wasn't a hefty bag big enough to cover what I saw. And they look so stupid. They all have those pink hats on with a dunce cap under each and every one of them, walking around. But they look filthy. And Riscalla, don't believe me, trust but verify. I mean, believe what I'm telling you to verify. They leave every place they go to looks like a
Mess.
trash heap.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
never pick up after themselves. When you go to any political rally for Trump, it's cleaner when they leave than it was when they got there.
Yeah, I've seen
When
the
you go
videos.
to a left, I'm sorry, get a word in.
No, I'm just saying, I've seen the videos of the rallies from the left, and it's pretty horrifying. There was one, I don't remember what march it was, but they left all of their protest signs and everything were everywhere. Not just, it wasn't enough to leave the trash out, not use trash cans, forget trash cans. All of their protest signs, it's like they just dropped everything and said, "Okay, we're done. See you later." It's the.
I know. I don't have to see it on TV. I've been around, because I've traveled enough that I have seen, and I don't need to exaggerate, I have seen a garbage can half empty with piles of trash
all around it. That's what this
14
video showed.
inches away from
Yeah.
the trash can.
Yeah, that's what this video showed. That they could have just
So
taken
why
2 steps
would I
and put
not
it.
believe
Yeah.
that the Nephilim or serpent seed or seed of Satan or something that's not from the same gene pool that they're from a cesspool and I'm from a gene pool. And why are you so lazy you can't walk 14 inches, a foot and a couple inches to throw something away? They just throw it on the floor because they're part animal. I mean, even a cat covers up in the litter box. These idiots.
True, that's true. That is true.
I know. I just can't believe that people don't see that we're dealing with something that's not fully human.
It's difficult for us. let me back up a minute. It's difficult for me to imagine what these people are like because my mind doesn't think in those realms. You know, I've many times I've said to people, those of us who get burned the easiest are typically the ones who are honest at heart, because if you're somebody who is honest at heart, you just kind of expect other people to be the same way. And it's difficult when you run across somebody who's not like that and they burn you and you don't get it. So it's difficult for someone like me to think of people who have these goals in mind, you know, more control over people, more power, more globalization. My mind doesn't think along those lines. So when I try to wrap my mind around it, just doesn't, you know. And so I can see where some people they can't relate to that. It's just beyond them. Some of the evil.
Well, because you have a soul, I'm just saying, is like a barometer. And the people that are basically soulless don't have a working barometer. They don't care. And I know it's hard for you. It's hard for me too, but I've been doing this for so long, and I've delved so deeply into understanding what makes these people not people, that it is. And I'm telling you that President Trump has been too nice as well. Even though he is a hard businessman, he is a decent man.
Yeah.
You know, you can be a really hard businessman but still be a very good man.
Yeah,
and you can
agree.
see the reflection of that through his children.
So let me ask you about, because we're talking about serpents, and I've read articles where the Queen, for example, many people have witnessed her literally change into a green-colored, like a lizard almost. What's your feedback on that? What's your opinion about that?
Well, all I can say is somebody like Joy Pugh, and I love her, she knows from the deepest part of that. I will say they're called blue bloods for a reason. You know that. I mean, reptilian blood is green mostly, but blue is kind of significant as well. We also know, why is it, and I'm asking you, even though I hope you know, I'm not going to ask you, I'm going to tell you. That way it doesn't put anybody on the spot. But when anybody from the royal, and they're called royal families, and they're still, you know, princes and princesses all over this world, they only want to marry
within the
a
line.
certain amount of a certain type of person, but even the person they marry does not get the throne. Only the bloodline, only the offspring. It has to come. Why is the bloodline that important to these people? Do you understand? Like, if William's married to Kate, if something happens to Charles, William takes over. But if something happens to William, Kate doesn't get into a position. Harry does, because Kate is just Kate's child would, little George or whatever his name is. Do you understand? It has to go through the gene pool. It cannot be somebody married. You know, would think like the wife takes over the husband's position. Oh, no. They know it's bloodlines, and they trace them all the way back, and probably all the way back to the garden.
Wow. I know that they're very peculiar. For example, my brother-in-law, who is a descendant of the pharaohs, he follows his bloodline all the way back, as far back as its history can take it. So I know that there are people who are, for whatever reason, they track that stuff. I mean, like, it's extremely important to my brother-in-law. It's very, very vital to him. He's very proud of where he's come from. Me, unfortunately, I'm like a Heinz 57.
You just reminded me, Gary Greenberg wants to do a show with us. He emailed me, and he wrote, and he is a brilliant theologian.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, and he talks about the Egyptians being the upper echelon of a lot of things. I'm going to email him back tomorrow.
Well, let's see if we can do that for next weekend. We'll bring him on for next weekend.
Because I know it'll get your Egyptian blood to elevated, because he is very, I mean, he's obviously Jewish, or I'm telling you, Greenberg, but he really is excited about this discovery about, not that people don't already know that the Egyptians are smart. Plus, God said he would take care of them. So they've always been in the mix.
Having been born in Cairo and left at a very early age, but I can tell you at about 5 years old, which is around the time that we left, my dad took me out to see the pyramids. And I touched the pyramid, and I could feel an energy from the pyramid. And my dad thought I was just imagining it. My dad touched it, and he couldn't feel it. But at that time, I could feel kind of, it's a combination of like when your leg goes to sleep, you know, and it wakes up, or your arm goes to sleep. Kind of a mixture of that with a light electrical shock, but not a painful shock, but the combination of the two. And then years later, many years later, this is about 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years ago now, I met a ministry. I met up with a ministry that has a lot of the Tesla secrets. And they know how to reproduce a lot of the stuff that Tesla did. And they introduced me to a circuit, and I touched the circuit, and I felt the same kind of energy. It took me back, instantly took me back to when I was a kid and touched the pyramid. The reason I'm not sure why I brought that up, but the reason I mention that is that I believe this is one of the things that is eventually going to come out for us. The ability for us to be free of the enslavement of what we're going through right now with regard to particularly to electricity and to fuel. This is the kind of thing.
Absolutely. And you did feel something. And I think we're reconnecting. Look, there's no coincidence that in the book of Numbers, in the biblical text, that the tribe of Judah, which was to be a light to the nations, is 186. It says it, 186,400, which is the speed of light.
Wow.
I mean, why is that tribe, the tribe that's going to be a light to the nation, happens to be basically the speed of light to the number?
Wow.
I mean, to the closest calculation. So, you know, Jennifer had brought up about Tesla. We need to really talk about that. And I think you brought up the Egyptian things because I brought up Gary Greenberg. But listen, the Egyptians knew. You don't think they knew? They knew so much. They were also very much into astronomy. I mean, they had those things placed so perfectly. Whoever helped them was not from, they weren't local.
I don't think so. And it's many people may or may not know that the pyramids are all over the planet. We have one here off of Florida. One of the biggest pyramids is off of Florida. It's a pyramid made out of crystals, and it's bigger than the pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. It's underwater. It's in this thing called the Devil's Triangle. But there are pyramids all over the world. They're in China as well. I was shocked to find that out, that they have pyramids in China.
They're everywhere. They're planted everywhere. And I don't want to hear that somebody was rolling a rock and it was, you know, I mean,
Nah.
I lived in Miami and Key Largo where we had Coral Castle.
Oh, yeah.
The Coral Castle, you know, you know.
Yeah.
You know how that guy had levitated all of that stuff and moved.
Some crazy stories.
Crazy
stories about that guy. He would have men deliver in the trucks, and then he would have them leave the trucks there. And he's the only one there. Have them leave the trucks there with these huge rocks in there, tons. You know, these things weighed, and they come back the next morning. Everything would be off the trucks. Everything would be unloaded. He's the only one around.
And he weighed 89 pounds soaking wet.
Crazy, yeah. So when you learn the secrets,
there is power in pyramids. People know that the center of the pyramids have an energy. Whatever you felt, you know, as we get older, that pineal gland in our skull calcifies.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So your dad was probably, his was so calcified that he didn't have a good receiver like you did, because as we age, our receptors, they twist. They're parabola shaped like a our DNA structure has parabola, and it looks just like a satellite dish. But the more we do bad things to our body, eat pork or whatever, it twists the parabola shape, the satellite receiver, into like a twisted thing so it can't receive as good. So as a little kid, you're wide open. I mean, your genes
I
are
agree.
fresh. And
Yep. When I was younger, I would hear conversations, full conversations. I thought it was normal. I didn't think anything of it, but I would hear full conversation. There wasn't anybody around, but yet I would be hearing full audible, like they were sitting next to me, having a conversation. And come to find out that I was hearing spirits. I was hearing conversations going on in the spirit realm.
Absolutely. You are talking to somebody that understands that fully and completely. And a lot of times parents will say, well, you're just imagining
Right.
that. It's not that. It's just we have like televisions on in a house. And when a TV is on one channel, it doesn't mean the other 700 channels aren't somewhere else, but you're not on that channel.
Right.
Well, you happen to be on two different channels at one time. And it happens mostly with little kids before they're 11 years old.
Because I think...
The-
Go ahead.
No, the majority is before they reach puberty. So, and then the disconnect starts to happen. It doesn't always happen. It just depends. But how old were you? What did you say?
I was probably that continued to happen to me until I was probably 7 or 8, maybe 9.
Yep.
But what was happening was my mom would know that's your imagination. You have to stop doing that. Blah 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 blah. I can remember we were on a beach, and I think it was in Lebanon at the time. And I was in like a condo or an apartment building. I was up maybe 2 or 3 floors up, looking out a window at the clouds up above us, and I saw a huge hand, like a human hand coming out of the clouds, but he was enormous. It was huge. And I called my mom over, and as soon as I called my mom over, the hand began to go away. I think what I was seeing was spiritual, but as soon as I referred to my mom, who was, she wasn't not spiritual, but she just wasn't where my pineal gland was very active as a young child. Hers wasn't. And so when I brought her over, that kind of broke the receiving of that vision, whatever it was going to be. And the hand backed away back into the clouds again. I would see all kinds of crazy things as a kid. And much of it, my mom would say, no, this is your imagination now. You have to grow up. You're a big boy. And I think a lot of that, because of that, causes you to kind of push it. It's like a muscle. It atrophies. If you're not using it, it kind of goes away.
Let me just tell you how right you are. There are gymnasts, okay? You know what a gymnast goes on a balance beam, the thing's 3.5 or whatever it is inches wide, does 4 double back flips and a front flip and lands on that balance beam. You know why? Because those parents were saying you can do it. Yes, you for sure. You keep practicing, you'll do it. Instead of you're going to break your skull. If somebody tells a kid, you try to jump on that balance beam, you're going to crack your head. You can get a bookmaker and lay odds the kid's going to crack his head. But the parent that instills you can encourages the child, and they can do feats that you can't even believe they can do because of the encouragement. What happens is a majority of parents do what most, what you say your mom did.
It's your imagination.
Bless her soul. Yeah. Don't do that, and that makes your neurotransmitters start depleting themselves and say, well, I must be imagining, So when the spirit, because they're still connected. I mean, we came from the womb. We had just left. To be born again, you had to be born from above, which means that's the seed line from above.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still connected to that Father. That's why he's called our Father, not just God. And we're still slightly connected. And if we keep those channels open, he stays connected. But too many times we're told, don't act like a kid. You're just la-di-dee-dee-do. And it disconnects us.
It's like I said, it's kind of like it's sort of like a language. When I came to this country, I spoke French and I spoke Arabic, which is very common in Egypt to have a secondary language, and secondary being French. And in order for me to learn English, I completely lost the French because I didn't speak the French. And much of my Arabic is broken up now because I have nobody to speak to. So it's kind of like a language. If you learn to speak a language and then you don't practice that language on a regular basis, it kind of breaks up. It doesn't, you're not fluent in it. Some people, my brother who spoke, somewhat understands Arabic, but he spoke fluent when he was here. He came here when he was 1 year old. He doesn't speak any Arabic at all anymore because he's nobody to speak to. So it's that kind of thing with the pineal gland. If you're not actively using it, let's say using it, that's not a proper, if it's not an active gland, and there are many things that fight it being an active gland. If it's not, then you won't have access to some of these things. There was a
right, and you can consciously open yourself up as well by wanting to be still connected instead of always going towards the negative, go towards the positive. But listen, the fact is that the pineal gland is called brain sand. It's also called the epiphany gland, but anybody that's ever worked in biology 101 knows that brain sand is made out of silica. That's what calcifies in our skull. So why is something that's made in computer chips in the midst of my skull? It is a computer chip. So many times we're being downloaded and uploaded with information. So, you can go to sleep at night, I'm sure that you have, and we all have, with some kind of a problem, and miraculously in the morning we figured out the answer. Well, it got downloaded on that computer chip by wherever it came from. And you understand what I'm saying. It solves problems that we can't solve while we're awake.
Yeah. Yeah, and much of what I was doing at the time when there was a short time ago, not too long ago, when I was really active. I called into one of Michael Vera's shows and flipped out his guest because I was he actually said, "Are you a psychic?" to me. And I said, "No, I'm just a regular guy. I'm just a host." But when you work at it, when you do things, like I meditate now, but my meditations now are during a walk, and it's a little different. Back then, I would meditate sitting still and just have absolute quiet around me, and I would do that every day, minimum of 15 to 20 minutes a day. When you're walking, it's a little different because you got to be careful where you walk, but that kind of thing. So it's not quite the same. Back then, it was very active for me. It was, what's the word I'm looking for? Active, I guess, is an accurate way of describing it. The gland was very active, and I was able to receive messages. I literally flipped some people out. They couldn't believe what was going on with me. So again, it's kind of like we said, like a language or like a muscle. If you're not using it, if you're not working at it, you're going to lose it. And
look, the people in India, the girls wear the bindis. You see the little bindi dots that they wear, and I was very close to an ophthalmologist, not an optometrist, and there's a huge difference. That was he's a Marine and MD ophthalmologist, and he did a lot of research because it is actually a third eye. It just does not develop, but it is exactly an eye in our skull. It just happens to calcify. Every ophthalmologist learns that in medical school. So how bizarre is that it sits in there? And that's why they bring it to the forefront with their bindi dots to remind them, and they are very... they're, I wouldn't say just spiritual, but they are intuitive. Let's put it that way. Many of the people in India, or people that are from India.
I refer to it as the spiritual gateway, if there could be such a thing. It would be the gateway to the spirit realm, the idea of the pineal gland, and being able to utilize...
Just remember... I'm sorry, Gil.
I'm just saying, be able to utilize it. Go ahead.
Just remember in the Bible when Jacob wrestles the angel of God, and he says, "I have seen God face to face, so I will call this place Pineal."
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow. Where does it say that?
And where Jacob is wrestling the angel of the Lord.
Yeah.
Now, it's spelled slightly different because it's from a Hebrew word, but he names the place Pineal, and he says, I named this place Pineal because I have seen God face to face.
Wow. I got to go check that out.
Trust but verify.
Yeah, I got to go check that. That's cool. All right.
Yes. I mean, we are computers.
We are.
Do you have to
I
take a
agree.
break?
No, in a minute. We are biological computers. You're 100% correct. Go ahead.
We are biological technology, and we are wrapped up in skin that is sensors, and it's recording every single thing that's done for us and every single thing that's done to us. And there is a guy, as a matter of fact, that's another one I want to email. I love Dr. Tipler. Frank Tipler wrote, and I love him. I even was with him with Richard Simmons, if you can believe that, in Louisiana.
Oh, my.
Frank Tipler is a physicist at Tulane, unless he retired, but he wrote Omega Point, the Omega Point theory. And he said at the very end, we are all in simulation right now. It's not even real. You want to talk about the red pill reality? He said we are simulated, and at the very end, the Omega Point will be when we all kind of, and he took a pay cut because he will not deny the Messiah. He just won't do it.
Wow.
But he says we're simulated and we're somewhere, but it's one big computer program that we're all in.
I think more scientists are coming to that conclusion that we live in some type of simulation of some sort.
Yes, I'm gonna send you some tape of Tipler and I, because this was 20 years ago, and this was way before artificial intelligence was kind of on the, it's been around for a while, but he was really out there where people thought this guy is out of his mind. But today he is like, they throw rose petals at him. He even did a lot of work with the Oviedo cloth and the Shroud of Turin, because that happened to come back with a virgin birth because it had double X chromosomes with no male chromosome. It was just anyway, Frank Tipler is somebody that I just love.
Well, we'll see can you contact him? Let's see if we can get him. Be interesting.
Yes.
Be interesting to see if we can get him on.
I absolutely will. I know so many people. What happens is, Riscalla, they think I disappear, and it's not that I disappear. I'm just running around so much. But when somebody needs me, I'm their person, because I won't let anybody down. And by the way, it's Genesis 32:22 that is called Pineal.
Okay.
32:22 through 31. Not that you're going to check, but I'm just telling you.
No, I'm going to
check it out. That's another coincidence.
All right. We're going to take a break. It's you're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show, and I am your host, Riscalla. And, of course, I have the one and only Angel Strong, who has been so gracious to be a co-host, who soon is going to be, she's growing, she has her feathers now, she's got her wings, and she's going to be doing her own thing on Mondays from 1 to 2 p.m. here on the Late Night in the Midlands network. And while I'm at it, I want to say thank you to all of you out there that replay the show for us. There's several stations that do that. High Point comes to mind. WCET is another one. There's a couple of others I can't think of right off the bat. But do thank you, each of you who do that. And to those of you who subscribe, without your subscription, we wouldn't be here. And we're always looking for new subscribers. We're always asking our current subscribers to please help us by telling other people who we are, where we're at, and kind of nudge them a little bit. Ask them to subscribe. It's we're not in this for the money. I think it's pretty straightforward. When a subscription is like $5, and if you're one of those that frequents one of these places where I don't call it food, but like a McDonald's or a Wendy's or something like that, it's one meal in a whole freaking month. Come on. It's not about money for us. It's much more important than that. But unfortunately, because of the system that we're in, we have to pay bills. And I don't ask anything of you guys out there that I don't do myself. I am a subscriber. I have been a subscriber from the very beginning because I understand the importance and the value that this station brings you. So if you know of any of your friends they're out there and they're maybe on the fence, or maybe not even on the fence, maybe they're on our side, maybe they're on the other side. invite them over, let them get informed a little bit, and if while you're at it, inform others, and that's what Michael likes to say, get informed, be informed, inform others. It's a way for us to grow. It's a way for us to continue doing what we're doing, because it's very difficult. The people who are the trumpet blowers, the people who are the people standing on the rooftops and trying to tell you the truth are the targets many times, and there's really no money in telling the truth. We know that going into it, but unfortunately, we do have bills that we have to pay. So if you can subscribe, that would be great. If you can make a donation, that would be great. Tell some friends about who we are and what we do. That would be great. In the meantime, don't go away.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
What's up, Ricky Dillon here at the largest social media gathering in the world. So the internet is an amazing place, but sometimes it can be a not so great place with online bullying and trolling and stuff. Have you ever seen online bullying before?
Unfortunately, it's kind of common. Online, people can hide behind the internet. Those comment sections can be a little
harsh.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's a good word for it.
I've been called many homophobic names.
I felt embarrassed. I felt humiliated. It made me stop liking myself. What if I told you there is something that you can use anytime that you see bullying online that calls attention to it in a nice way? Like, hey, that's not nice.
I wish that was the thing.
It's this! So anytime that you see any kind of hate online, go into your phone, go into the symbol section, post this I, and it says that that's bullying, that's not nice. So would you post this if you saw someone bullying someone?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like a lot more mature way to handle situations.
Find the emoji in your phone, send it to 5 of your friends, and let them know what it means to be a witness.
Go to eyewitnessbullying.org to learn more about the emoji.
Thinking of moving? Before you do anything else, call Diane Whittick of Bowen Realty. She provides a concierge service. Things like having your home or condo packed and shipped, even take care of your home repairs or upgrades. Diane has the expertise to get it done. As a seller, you will have constant contact. She will furnish you with bids on any services that might need completion: air conditioning, plumbing, handyman, and even cleaning. Living up north and have a home to sell here in South Florida? Just give her the keys, address, and a signature. Your payment will be wired when the property is sold. That's right, Diane does it all. Thinking of buying? Diane has great listening skills. Tell her what you want, give her your budget, and like a genie, she will make your real estate wish come true. There's no regrets when you choose Diane Whittick of Bowen Realty. To reach Diane, call 561-247-5478. That's 561-247-5478. Diane Whittick at Bowen Realty, located in Wellington at Wellington Trace East and Forest Hill Boulevard. 561-247-5478.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework.
He hates homework.
It makes no sense.
I don't know how he finds anything in his backpack.
I can't find my backpack.
I couldn't even read his handwriting.
Holding the pencil makes my hand hurt.
I know he's bright.
Why is it so hard for me?
He's
I'm
just
trying
gotta
as
try a
hard
little
as
harder.
I can.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. Go to understood.org, a free online resource with support and tools to help your child thrive.
Do you have an unusual pet? Did you know that the Rainforest Clinic in Loxahatchee specializes in exotic pets? They see pets that other vets don't. Parrots and chickens, ducks, geese, turtles, snakes, goats, pigs, lizards, and even monkeys. Are you a beekeeper? Dr. Clubb, the first of her kind in the area? Yes, she takes care of bees as well. Dr. Susan Clubb has decades of experience and known around the world for her reputation as a premier avian vet. Located at 3319 E Road in Loxahatchee, just a short distance north of Okeechobee Road, you will find a modern clinic with in-house labs, which allow you to get your test answers quickly. You can find them online at www.susanclubb.com. That's www.susanclubb.com. Or you can reach her at 561-795-4878. It's Dr. Susan Clubb. That's 561-795-4878. The Rainforest Clinic located in Loxahatchee. 561-795-4878.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla, every Saturday night on the LNM Network from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now your host, Riscalla.
Okay, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. Excuse me, I am your host, Riscalla. Tonight I have Angel Strong with me. And if you haven't heard about Angel, let me tell you a little bit. This is an individual who has a wealth of knowledge, who is very gracious with their time and willing to share that in an effort to make our world better, a better place for everybody. The kind of people I like hanging around with, and certainly has been a giant blessing in my life. Anyway, welcome back, Angel. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It is an honor and a privilege to have you on with me.
Ditto.
Excuse me. I was getting ready to say something, and again, my mind is kind of mush tonight. I have a lot of things happening in my personal life. Hopefully this weekend will be, I've done without my own personal car for a while now, and I had problems with it. It's been at the mechanic, had it fixed, it came back, messed up again, had to take it back. So it's been back and forth a couple times, so hopefully I'm going to get it back tomorrow. I've had to borrow somebody's car, so I've had to do things at last minute kind of thing, have to run here, run there, and get that done. You don't realize how stranded you become if you don't you don't have a vehicle to get you around. It's pretty tough. So that's kind of been something that's been weighing on me. Hopefully I'll see that monster tomorrow. In the interim, let's see, what else have we got going on today? I'm just looking at an article here, and the article says, let's see who wrote this. This is I Love My Freedom. Breaking, President Trump preparing to declassify. According to investigative reporter James Rosen, President Trump is planning on declassifying the Carter Page FISA docs along with other Russia records to expose the Department of Justice criminal activities involving their efforts to spy on the Trump campaign during the 2016 election cycle. The declassification of these documents will come around the same time that the Inspector General releases his findings relating to the FISA abuses. So like we said earlier, gloves are off. And I think it's about time. I really do. I think it's about time that we start holding these people responsible, holding their feet to the fire, if you will, kind of thing.
I do too. I mean, I'm going to celebrate. I can't even tell you the day. Well, I'm not even going to say. I just am excited for that day to come.
I don't think it's very far off.
And for them all to go.
I don't think it's very far off. I mentioned earlier, Devin Nunes, 8 criminal referrals. And I have no doubt in my mind there will be names that, even though he hasn't released them yet, there will be names that will be well known before it's all over. And I think we should be hearing about that very shortly. That was, about a week or so ago that he's putting these referrals in. So I think we should be hearing about some of that stuff here very quickly.
And I believe that the more the more time that goes by and all of these, they still keep haranguing him, President Trump, about Russia, the angrier he's going to get. It's not that he's going to be vindictive, but he's going to be just.
He has a sweet, he has
way. Every right to be just.
I don't blame him. He has a sweet way of bringing revenge back. It really is. Timing is everything. I've learned with this man. Timing is everything. On a different note, while I'm thinking about it, Christians are celebrating the resurrection this weekend. Jewish people are celebrating the Passover, right? Is that correct?
Yes. We have Passover for the whole week.
And Passover is the time when the Jews were in Egypt, if I remember right, and it was the passing over of the death angel. They were putting blood on over the whatever you call it, the door, right?
That's a part of it. They also think it was, being liberated from Egypt. There's two things: the Passover over the door, and there was also the escape from Egypt, or the passing over of the Red Sea or the Sea of Reeds. I mean, it's a duplicity, but we celebrate in a way, and it's all, there's a lot of worship, but there's a lot of food. If you don't eat it, you're going to be injected with it. But it's a full week's worth of celebration, liberation and celebration.
Wow.
It's the book of Exodus. It's something to understand. And of course, this year it fell. It fell on Good Friday, like it would have in biblical times.
Wow. And of all days, today is 420. Those of you who don't know what that means, you'll have to go figure that out. But it is 420 today, and that's a magical number for some people who are of a certain persuasion. You guys will have to figure that out, what we mean by that. And so a happy 420 to you guys, and a happy Easter to those who celebrate. A happy Passover, or blessed Passover, to those of you who celebrate Passover.
We say it's Chag Sameach, which is, happy celebration. Happy holiday.
A week-long celebration. That's a heck of a party there now.
Lordy Lord, it is. If you can escape family.
Oh, there you go.
Not that I don't love them. I love them. I shouldn't say that. But it's all good. And I think, this thing with the fire over in Paris really does make every religion, or I would say the Judeo-Christian religion, really bond together, to lose such relics, because Judaism has lost so many relics, that, and destruction from over the centuries. We've lost so much.
I think there's more to be told about that before it's all over. You realize that thing has been through 2 world wars and still stood. Now all of a sudden we have a raging fire, not just a. And from what I understand, isn't a lot of it metal? Isn't a lot of the structure metal of that thing? I think it's like brass or something, right?
I'm conspiracy theory all the way on this. I don't understand the accelerant that had to have caused this. I don't know enough about who was in there. Was there workers in there? Did they leave something? Was there a welding machine for the ironworks? Did they leave it on? Was it a cord that had been overly wrapped, and maybe some of the insulation wasn't good? Because it wouldn't necessarily need to be left on, but if it was still plugged in, with the insulation from the cord spark to a curtain, but was there no sprinkler system? There was no system to cover that. I mean, you would think of all things there would be some kind of system in a wooden building like that, wooden and metal building. It doesn't. No.
There's a lot of things that aren't adding up. Again, it's. I think before it was all said and done, and we're going to find out there was arson. That's my personal feeling. I have no evidence that it was. My personal gut feeling is that it was arson. Again, it's this thing about one world religion, and them mentioning, what really kind of tipped me off was them mentioning that, well, we're going to rebuild it, and we're going to rebuild it with less of a Christian influence over it. This is like a mainstay of the Christian belief system. So it's like we're washing away, you know.
And for them to even think about turning it into some ecumenical, everybody's inclusive, is totally preposterous. But it might happen because that is the climate for people in that particular arena over there, where they want everybody to be one.
And
I mean ONE, not WON.
They purposely are prejudiced against Christians with regard to anything that a Christian does can be publicized. But if a Muslim, or they find out that somebody's committed a crime of some sort and they're of Muslim faith, they don't want that publicized. So it's a protection of one and an attack on the other. And I see similar things happening over here as well, where it's a protection of one.
Oh, sorry, go.
A protection of one and an attack on the other. Again, it's my logic tells me I don't think that people they're just not going to put up with this anymore. I hope and pray that I'm correct, that they're going to begin voicing that this is not acceptable any longer. We've had too many people who have been murdered, raped, trafficked by people who don't belong here. They just don't belong here. But yet we have people who are supposed to be representative of us saying, yeah, we need to bring more in. 100,000 in 1 month. Can you imagine?
I don't have to imagine because I see it. And I want to just bounce back to what you said about your gut feeling with arson with the
Notre Dame
Notre
thing.
Dame.
Yeah.
Or Notre Dame. What's so different of what we're seeing here? They're tearing down statues. I mean, they're burning churches here too, don't get me wrong, and synagogues and mosques have had problems, this and that. But every single place that is of Christian majority and political, they're tearing down here in our own country. So what makes us think that over there somebody just didn't want to change the elevation of something? So that was a staple of the Christianity over in France. Let's tear it down and we'll restructure it the way we want to write history.
Right. And that's what I see
No different
happening.
than every statue that's been torn down in our country.
That's what I see happening over there. They're going to rebuild it, and then another part of this that several people have mentioned to me. I can't believe how much money they raised. I can't believe that they raised $700 million in such a short period of time. My question is, where do you think the money came from? It didn't come from people like you and me. It came from these oligarchs that have them. That you know, $1 million to them is like $1,000 to you and me. It's no big deal. You know, it's not going to be the end of the world to them. It's that kind of thing. So yeah, they're able to raise $700 million in a heartbeat while people are sitting in the streets starving and stuff like that. There was a comparison where a guy was sitting, looked like a homeless person, and it said, a sign that said homeless or something like that. And he wasn't getting any money. He had put his head between his knees, and he's just kind of, I guess he was praying in it. And in this meme, I think it was a cat or a dog came walking by and then made a picture of Notre Dame and then put that up. And all of a sudden, the next slide is this guy's got a big pile of money next to him, meaning that we've got money for Notre Dame, but we don't have money for the homeless. That's quite true. But a lot of people think that the money raised, the $700 million, was raised by ordinary people. I don't believe that to be true for a moment. I believe it was raised by people of extreme wealth in order to, again, change this. We're going to change it from a strong Christian influence to not so strong. We're going to make it, like Angel said, kind of blend in with whatever's happens to be going on over there at the time. Another drive towards this thing I call Chrislam, a mixture of Christianity and Islam together to bring the world together under one world religion. And the furtherment of that is the Pope allowing Islamic prayer and the reading of the Quran in the Basilica inside of the Vatican. Again, it's a push towards this one world government, one world religion nonsense. And when you hear our president speaking about nationalism versus globalism, this is why they're one of the reasons they're against him. He doesn't want to see this globalism thing. He believes in the nation holding its own sovereignty, not losing its sovereignty into joining a bunch of other nations and then blending in with all of them and becoming one of them. So these are things that we really need to keep on the edge of your mind and remember that, the other thing, while I'm thinking about it, have you noticed lately how patriotism seems to be something that is of a negative? The other side seems to paint that as a negative. Oh, you're a patriot. That's like a bad thing. Why aren't you a globalist? Why aren't you part of the global community? Why are you a patriot? Because patriotism is what conserves the country. It's what makes America America. It's what makes another country the other country. The people who are the patriots, who care about the country itself and the betterment of the country. Patriotism is not something that should be negative. Patriotism is something that we should be proud of. And when you have
they're gonna push us patriots a little too far, and they're gonna realize why the last part of the word patriot is riot.
True. And I love it how you figure this stuff out with the words. I love it.
They're gonna push just a little too far one day. And with that Pope, he's cozying up to the Quran, and he's criticizing President Trump all out of the same mouth.
Yep.
I'm just telling you.
He's also complaining about walls.
Bail.
Did you hear what he said about walls? Walls are immoral, blah, 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 blah. And they got a big wall around the Vatican. It's amazing. It's amazing the hypocrisy in your face that they are willing to do. And they think nothing of it, nothing at all. Oh, it's immoral to have these walls. It's not a Christian thing to have these walls, blah, 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 blah. But yet, what have you got around the Vatican?
Not only do they, listen, Riscalla, they're a sovereign nation unto themselves.
Yep.
When a priest, and I'm not talking about the parishioners, I'm talking about now the big wigs. When they get caught in some pedophilia ring, they get in trouble through their own little association, and then they get sent on a vacation.
Yeah. And sent to another.
I've always wondered, listen, it's no coincidence that where they have their meetings is called the rectory. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh my God!
Well,
I love how you figure out the words. Oh my gosh!
You know it is, and
I don't even
know
think
it is.
It's just no, but it amazes me how, like global, for example. When you brought up global last night, I never thought of it like that. The way that and patriots, another one, and then this last one.
But it doesn't. It has
to
make sense. They have to tell us. Michael Vera, when I was on that show, we talked about they have, for whatever reasons.
Yeah, they have to tell us.
What they're doing. It's if they have a code of ethics, that's a part of it, and they do through their wording. And I'm just telling you, though, those priests, and I'm not saying all priests. I'm saying the ones that don't have to go through a system like we do, like a regular prison.
Mm-hmm.
They get sent somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
Like a vacation. It's just not right. And they're going to lecture President Trump. First of all, they've got more jewelry than the Queen Mother.
Oh my gosh. They have enough in assets to easily stop all hunger on the face of the planet and still have all kinds of money left over. But they don't do anything like that.
Why do they have all of that cachet? Why? What's it for?
And they have a complete arsenal underneath the Vatican. I've heard reports of just weaponry like you wouldn't believe underneath. So they have their own army. They have their own private army, and they have unbelievable amounts of financial power, and they yield as well the perception of spiritual power. Maybe they have actual spiritual power, but it's not the spirit of the God that we serve. It's crazy with them. It really is. It's crazy. He openly.
But it's Baal. Listen, it's Baal worship. If you look, and I've been to the Vatican. I mean, the statues that are there are total. Listen, there's many beautiful ones. The architecture, because we live in America. It's a young country. We have really no old architecture because we're so youthful. So when you go over to the Middle East and over into Europe, and when you're in Italy and Spain and all of these places that are absolutely beautiful because of the architecture, but if you look at the Vatican itself, you will find artifact or artwork and artifacts that have Baal type of or satanic type of worship if you have the eye for it. Now, if you're just looking to look at things that are beautiful, you won't catch it. But those of us with a trained eye, I walk over there and feel like I am in Pee Wee Herman's worst nightmare.
Oh, my God.
So I'm telling you, though, it's there. And they don't really hide it because not everybody has eyes to see. But they're rich as can be. They get rhymes with crimes against humanity, just like a lot of people in this country. But they don't have a judicial system to make them pay up. And they're sitting on all this money, and they don't care. But it's all Baal. It's all about child sacrifice, whether it's by rape or whatever. That's really sacrificing a child, even if it doesn't mean death. It means the loss of their youth.
Right.
And that is death in itself, if you understand what I'm telling you.
Yeah. That child will never be the same.
No. And it's a 50% chance that they will be completely opposite of what happened to them, or the other 50 side of that coin is that they will become exactly what happened to them.
How sad.
So then the generations that follow through either if they turn towards it, you've got a new generation of pervs.
It's an ongoing cycle. Yeah. It's an ongoing cycle, and I've seen a parallel thing when I was a foster parent. I watched these parents that have these kids, and then the kids have kids, and they're just back in the system again over and over and over. It's like a vicious cycle that somewhere along the line somebody needs to intercede, and that was the part that we played for that period of time. I was married at the time, and we played foster parents. And watch this vicious cycle repeat itself over and over and over with these people. And there are people like that just don't, I don't know, for whatever reason, they don't recognize it. They don't see it. It's there in front of them, but
it can be a generational curse too, because if you never get out of it, you teach what you know, but you reproduce what you are. And there are times that people can break away from that, and then there are times that they don't even want to. It just depends. I mean, that's what makes us all individuals, and that's what separates those of us with a conscience from those of them that have none. So, I mean, we've talked our way through the gamut tonight. Lordy Lord.
What do you think? We're running down on time, but I wanted to ask you quickly while I'm thinking about it. The ones that we call soulless, what happens to them when they die? What do you think occurs?
I think that they don't have another chance. I think my belief is that the ones that are soulless absolutely just dissipate. And the ones that do have a soul get reincarnated. I know that a lot of people with the Christian Bible don't believe in reincarnation. I absolutely do. And it's scriptural. It's Gilgal, the wheel. It's born again means you're born from above. You get born again. The water and the spirit, you just get recycled.
I agree.
And I've seen enough. I've seen enough to know it. So
I agree. There's videos on YouTube about young kids, 10, 11 years old, who remember their prior lives. One of them that comes to mind, he remembers he was a pilot in one of the wars and took his parents to the place where the aircraft were shot down, and showed they showed him pictures of people, and he said, yeah, I know this guy, this guy, this guy by name. And then they met people who knew those people and said, yeah, that's what's his name. So yeah, I believe it. I believe it's 100% that we come back. I've had people tell me we choose to come back. Why in the world I chose to come back, I have no idea. But I guess I'll learn one of these days. Somebody will kind of reveal that secret to me.
I think we just keep reaching until we reach a plateau where we can not have to have this learning experience down here.
What a learning
because,
experience.
Man, it's a struggle.
Yeah, what a learning experience it is.
This life is a struggle.
All right, we're about out of time. Before we go, I want to mention again that Angel's going to have her own show. It's going to be Mondays 1 to 2 p.m., latenightinthemidlands.com. You go there to listen to it. Once we get the Facebook page set up, you can also click on the Facebook page. We'll set it up so we have it like on the Red Pill Reality Show. You click on Contact Us, takes you directly to the live streaming server, and you can connect there. Any parting thoughts there, my dear Angel, before we go?
Yes, I appreciate you so much. I really do, Riscalla. I just, to the moon and back. And Michael Vera, because he gave me, you brought me into his fold, and I was so proud to be a part of this because people have offered me many times, radio spots and this and that. And I've never really felt comfortable because I don't want to be scripted. And I hope I last after my second show because you're nice. I'm going to come out brawling, and I'll try to keep my temperament into check. But I just am honored to be with Late Night in the Midlands because I think that is a place that has people that are higher than the regular bear out there, higher thinking.
Well, I want to tell you, from my perspective, it's an honor to have you on. It's always an honor to have. I've said this many times, and I mean it truly. None of us know how much time we have left. And for me, it could have been a couple of weeks ago. I had a little scare a couple of weeks ago. But what I'm getting at is when someone takes the time out of their life to share with you their knowledge in an effort to help you, that's a priceless gift. And that's what people like Angel do. I do, Michael Vera does, some of the other people on the network do. They take time out of their lives to share with you knowledge in an effort to help you live a better life. It's an investment. For me, it's an investment. I know Angel probably looks at it the same way. It's an investment. We're trying to make a better life for everybody, where everybody wins. Those are the best equations that you can come up with, where everybody wins. And hopefully you've enjoyed some of the information that we've shared with you tonight. And you'll tell your friends about latenightinthemidlands.com. Have them come over, subscribe, make a donation. Help us keep going with what we're doing because without you, there's no us. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege. It's been the Red Pill Reality Show. I've been your host tonight with my co-host, Angel. Thank you, Angel. Greatly appreciate it, my dear.
Thank you so much, Riscalla. I love you to pieces.
Good night, everybody.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.